Hi, I'm Streaky, and today I'm going to tell you how to get your Nearfield sounding better. So how do you get your Nearfields to sound better? Okay, there's three things I can tell you to do. First one is to put something under them to decouple them. There is another video I've done that explains that in more detail. Isoacoustics I found are kind of one of the best cost-effective ways of doing that. The little pucks that they do are good. These are a different kind of stand that they've got, but all of them are quite good. That's the first tip. Second tip is where you're sitting with regard to them. Make sure that your ears are aligned, I find best, just below the tweeter, in between the tweeter and the mid-range, because that's kind of a really good point, and make sure that they're sitting in a kind of V shape for you, so you're just sitting inside the V. And my third tip, which is my top tip, is use a subwoofer with them. Now you might say to yourself, oh yeah, subwoofer, blah blah, I don't like the way that it's detached sound, it's too much bass for my room, the room's not right for it, my neighbours hate me, blah blah blah. But the fact is, it just means you're not setting it up correctly, because if you had a decent set of three-way speakers, that's kind of giving you that sub situation. Now, the reason why this works so well is because if you've got a mid-range speaker there, it's trying to do the bass and the mids. So what happens is it starts flapping too much when you get some really low subby stuff, and you know, anything above say 40 hertz to about 80 hertz really starts moving the speaker too much. So what happens, that starts affecting the mid-range, and you know, that mid-range is really important to listen to, and that's why Nearfields are so good to use. So by taking away, by having say a crossover on the sub at about 80 hertz, that's taking all the pressure off of that cone, and that cone isn't going to vibrate as much, so it's just going to move exactly just for what it's supposed to be doing, which is the mid-range. And anything under 80 hertz is going to be handled by the sub. Now, what you need to do when you're setting your sub up is, most people will just throw a sub anywhere in the room, turn it up, and then you end up with just loads and loads of sub, like when you're in the cinema, because people have this mentality that because it's a sub, it's a 5.1 system, and it should be, you know, sounding like that with a thunderous bass. But that's not the case at all. What you want to set it up to be sounding like is that it's a three-way monitor, and that's when you start not having that detachment, because I always hated subs in the past because it felt detached from the two speakers. It felt like there was a gap missing, but that's just because I was either putting too much or not enough on. So what I would suggest is, if you're using a 2.1 system, so two speakers and one sub, then put the sub in between the two speakers at the front. So you've got the two speakers and put it directly in the middle. But I would always suggest, if you can afford to, or if you can, is get two subs, because you really want the left, and you want to be able to hear what's happening in the left and right lower than 80 hertz, because where the crossover point is, it's obviously a little bit higher, so you are going to lose bass stuff, and you're basically just going to mono everything. If you're doing dance music, that's fine, but if you have got anything that's out of phase, you don't hear that flabbiness and that sort of awkwardness in the bass, the kind of phasey bass. So having two will just give you that kind of more full sound. And what I would suggest is, first of all, just try them, if you can get them directly under the speaker, great, but then just move them forward. But measure your room with something like fuzz measure, and just move them around. I do prefer to have them nearer to the speakers. You know, if you start putting them in the corners, they're going to start getting bassier and boomier, but having them where your speakers are, at least they're in a similar, you know, area to where you want them. If you look at any big speakers, like if you look at these PMCs, these haven't got the sub that comes with them, but if they did, they would have them directly underneath. So take that similar approach where with your Nearfields, put them kind of just either in front or below if you can, and then use fuzz measure or any other measuring device that you might like to measure the room and move the bass until it's kind of as flat as you can hear it, and then you know you're not over pumping the bass with the volume on the sub, and then you know that you're not going to get that disconnected sound. And I guarantee you, having the speakers not working as hard will just give you such a better sound to your Nearfields. that it just increases, gets rid of that smear. You get a lot more detail, a lot more depth, and not as much bounce. So yeah, give it a go. Let me know, give it a try. Let me know in the comments if you've got any other tips and tricks that you know about this. Put them in the comments too. I always like to learn something new too. So thanks for watching. Please like the video. If you've got anything you want me to talk about or anything you want me to review, stick that in the comments too. There is a code underneath. If you want me to master for you, you get a little bit of a discount. So thanks for watching this far, and until next time, cheers, bye.